Welcome back to Home Theater Gurus. This is episode 25. So contrary to popular belief, I'm still alive. I know it's been over a month since I made a video, but just to let you guys know where I've been, beginning of December, I went on a vacation for a week. I got back and we immediately started moving. We sold our house December the 30th, so pretty much the whole month of December, except for that first week, I was moving, so didn't have a chance to make any videos. But even in the month of January, we've been trying to get settled in. You know, we're living in a camper temporarily because we're going to get property and we're going to build. So we got a lot going on. But finally, I've got a place where I can shoot videos again. So we're going to get back on that horse and back onto those weekly videos. So before we get on with the episode, I just want to point out, if you see anything blue, you see right there, got some blue stain on my hand. All my stuff's been in storage. I reached my hand into my bag to get my dry erase markers, and an ink pen had busted. And so anyway, I couldn't get that off. So if you see that, you know, I did wash my hands. Anyway, enough about me. Let's go ahead and get on to this episode. So today we're going to be talking about reference. So, you know, what is reference? How do we calibrate for reference? And, you know, how important is it? So what is reference? What are reference levels? Well, basically, whenever something is in the studio being remixed, you know, for us to consumers to use at home, or even, you know, in a movie theater, reference is a level that everything is mastered to. Reference level is basically just a level that is kind of been adopted in the industry so that everyone can set their equipment to this level and listen to it at the same volume, or at least we know where we are in relation to that reference level volume. And so basically what it is it's 85 dB. So in the studio, they're going to use 85 dB to calibrate their system. So they're going to have their volume set, you know, at a specific spot, and they're going to calibrate using the trims all their speakers for 85 dB. Now that's 20 dB less than our peaks. Remember, with reference levels, we can have peaks in any one of our loudspeakers of 105 dB. So that gives them 20 dB for peaks. 85 dB is what they, you know, their noise, or that's what they set their levels to, and they're going to have 20 dB of headroom for peaks. And on the subs, of course, it's 115 dB. Now in the home, we don't use 85 dB because it's loud, you know, still a little loud. We use 75 dB, so we're 30 dB from those 105 peaks. So it's a little bit different than a professional mastering studio, but I mean, the result is the same. We still can find a spot on our receiver and calibrate our receiver to where if we're listening at that given volume level, we know that we're listening at the same level that it was recorded at and what it was intended to be listened to at, which would be reference levels, or what someone thought we should be listening to them at. But it also lets us know, you know, a lot of us don't listen at reference, but we can tell if our system is calibrated properly. We know how loud we listen. You know, if it's 10 dB, 15 dB from reference, you know, it gives us a reference point to kind of, you know, see or compare my listening preference to your listening preference. And we know that, you know, if I listen at 15 or below reference and you listen at 10 below reference, you know, we know you like it a little louder than I do, because the closer you get to 0 is going to be louder. So let's go ahead and go over that. You know, I just said the closer you get to 0 is louder. So in your receiver, you're going to have two scales, a relative and an absolute scale. By default, usually it's going to be set at relative. Now you're going to know this is relative because if you crank up the volume and it goes closer to 0, then you're at the relative scale. You know, if say you normally listen at -20, you crank it a little louder, it goes to -15, you know, you're in the negatives. The smaller the number, you know, you're getting closer to 0. That's going to be the scale most of us listen to. Then you have the absolute scale, which is like 0 to 99. Around 80 is going to be your 0. Most of us aren't going to be on this absolute scale. We're going to be on the relative scale. And actually, once you understand how reference works, it's going to make a lot more sense using the relative scale. So before we proceed, you know, I would recommend you go on your receiver, your AVR, and set it for the relative scale. So that way you're going to have 0 as reference, and the negative numbers are going to be quieter. And the closer you get to 0, the louder it's going to be. So how do we calibrate for reference in our system? Well, it's actually quite easy. You know, if you have auto room correction, WIPO, and, you know, Odyssey, they are supposed to set everything for reference for you. You know, when you have your speakers set up in the room and it's doing the, you know, going around the room, it's supposed to set levels during measurement 1. and it should be calibrated for reference. Now, it doesn't hurt to go back and check, and but more importantly, what we're checking for, we really want it to be level matched. We want all the speakers to be outputting equally. And that's the important thing that we need to verify. So let's say we're doing it manually, or we want to verify that our receiver set up for reference, because not all of them are going to be setting up for reference. They should, but just if you want to verify. So all you're going to do is you're going to go to your settings where you have your speaker output levels, and that's going to play the peak noise at 75 dB. Remember, 30 dB from those 105 peaks. So you're going to get your meter and you're going to put it at your money seat, at your listening position, the center of your sofa, whatever you've got, and you're going to put it where your head goes. Now, you can stack up some pillows and just set it there. But now remember, you want to aim it at the speaker. I wouldn't just leave it straight, especially when it comes to the speakers behind you. So, or aim it straight up. If you can do that, that's even better. Just aim it straight towards the ceiling, and that way all the speakers are going to be hitting the mic, kind of equally, instead of some being pointed at the speaker and then your rear speakers, the mic's pointed away. Aim it straight up. And you can also use a phone for this. Even though the phones are not accurate, the inaccuracies are going to be equal in all speakers. So you can use your phone app and find an SPL meter just to kind of verify. So we're going to go and we're going to set our mic on our pillows, stacked up exactly where our ears are going to be, or however you want to do it. If you have a mic stand, you got your mic and you're going to set it for C weighting. Then you're going to go over there and you're going to adjust your volume on your receiver for 0. Okay, because 0 is where we want our reference levels to be. So that way, whenever we go to 0 on our volume dial, that's your reference. That's what it was recorded at, and that's what it was intended by, by someone that we listened to it at. And that's what it was played back at the mastering studio. And it's going to be loud. Doesn't mean you have to listen to it there. But that's what we're doing to calibrate our system. So we've got it at 0, and we're going to go and start playing test tones in our speakers. Not test tones, but the peak noise. So you go to your first one, it might be the front left, and it's, and you look at your meter. And if it's not 75 dB, say it's 72, turn it up a little bit, okay? And then do the same thing for all the speakers. Now remember, if you're not pointed straight up, maybe you've got a mic and you're spinning it towards all the speakers as the sound's playing, remember to keep it aimed at all the speakers. And you want all of those to read 75 dB. Now, all those loudspeakers are calibrated for reference. And now you've got your sub. Now the sub's a little bit different. Remember, the LFE channel has peaks of 115 dB. So it's going to be 10 dB louder than our loudspeakers. Now if you've got Room EQ Wizard, that's the best way to set up your sub. And besides letting your receiver do it. So if you don't want to let your receiver do it, or you've just had to go and adjust the levels of your loudspeakers, now you want to get your sub tweaked. If you've got Room EQ Wizard, just your sub should be crossed to your mains already. Just play one of the mains. Play a sweep from 10 hertz to 200 hertz and look at it across that crossover transition. If your sub is doing like this, you should have a little bit of a house curve in your sub. Say this is your crossover at 80 hertz. If this is nice and smooth across there like that, then your levels for your sub, they're good. Now if it comes and it looks like this at that crossover point, and here's your 80 hertz, your sub's too low. So that can help you, get that sub really tweaked, to perfection, output wise. So because you want that nice transition from sub to main. Now that would be the more professional way to align or to get the output of your subs perfected, and set up with your mains. Another way is just go over there and adjust the sub until you're happy. A lot of us are going to tweak subs anyway. If we find it's a little too weak, and we've already verified we have a nice house curve, there's nothing wrong with going over there, and just boosting it. Use a little common sense. You don't have to make it complicated if you don't want to. Just adjust it by ear. Alright, so that's pretty easy, right? All of our loudspeakers are now calibrated for reference. We've got our sub sounding good. It's at the level to our ears. It sounds like, it's not too weak, it's not too strong. We're happy, right? So what about, these programs, the software and these receivers that boost the center channel? I'm going to tell you right now, you should never boost your center channel. Look at our ears. I shaved my head so I could show you guys this video. Not really. But, our ears are made to listen straight forward. You know, you've got two ears that are listening to a source, and you know, your ears are catching the sound, and you know, it's basically like a funnel. You're going to hear straight forward better than any other direction. You know, your left speaker, you only got one ear over here, right? You know, behind you, those speakers are kind of being partially blocked. The one speaker that you should never have problems hearing is the center channel. If you have problems hearing that center channel, you know, you need to go back and look at episode 21 through 24. You've got acoustic problems. Guaranteed. If your room is set up right, you will never, ever, ever have to or feel the need to adjust the center channel. Vocals are going to be scary clear. They're going to be, you know, very detailed. You're not going to have any problems at all. So, you know, receivers put those in there, or receiver manufacturers put that software in there because they know people, you know, a lot of times they just throw speakers anywhere. The speakers on the floor, your seat, you know, your reclined feet block the center channel. I mean, these things happen, and the manufacturers know that, so they're going to make software to help, you know, boost the center channel and fix, you know, those issues, which you're not really fixing them, but we want to avoid the need for that, and we should not need those. So you should never, ever have to boost your center channel. Now, again, you know, you look at our ears, the backs of our ears, you know, our surrounds, and are not really surrounds, but our rears. The rear speakers are going to be behind us. They are going to be partially blocked by your ears. Now, in real life, sounds behind us are blocked, just like, you know, with our speakers behind us. I mean, anything behind us, we're not going to hear as well as if we had it directly in front of us. So, if you want to boost your rear channels up a little bit, you know, go for it. There's nothing set in stone saying, you know, lightning's going to strike and, you know, your hair is going to fall out or anything bad's going to happen to you just because you boosted your rears. I boost mine. I mean, you know, it sounds, I do it until it sounds natural or more even, you know, with things panning around me. And one thing I do, which I've talked about this before, is I'll get like an Xbox game like Skyrim or Fallout, you know, where they have like the radio, you know, playing the oldies music in the corner of the room. You walk up to it, you know, kind of close, and you spin slowly in a circle. Now, if you've got your speakers laid out per episode 1, that's going to also help you fill in any gaps. Now, if you laid them out per episode 1, you're not going to have any issues. You know, as you pan around, it's going to be seamless. If you have dropouts, go watch episode 1. It's going to fix those for you. But you're going to notice behind you, if all the speakers are the same exact level per the mic, it's going to sound quieter. So boost them until they sound, you know, normal, until it sounds even. That's what I do. So, I mean, you know, play with it a little, but I would not touch, especially the front 3 or the surrounds. Don't touch those. You know, if you're going to boost anything at all, boost the ones behind you. And I really wouldn't boost the Atmos either. You shouldn't need to do that. But, you know, because of the way our ears are made, they are blocking the sound behind us. And then sometimes you have a seat back, you know, high seat back, you know, movie theater chairs or just whatever. And so you may have some other obstructions too behind you. So tweak those to ear, or tweak them till it sounds right to you. So now we have our system set up perfectly, right? Now we know where reference is. If you're at 0 watching something, you're at reference. Now I do want to emphasize, sometimes movies aren't recorded the same. Like John Wick, you know, John Wick, the first one, for instance. You may find on that one, you're listening louder than you normally would. Besides that it has an awesome soundtrack and a lot of awesome bass, it's not quite as, it's not recorded at reference like some other movies. You know, you're going to notice you're listening at -10, where other movies may sound just as loud at -15 or -20. You know, so you're going to run into that where a movie just doesn't sound like it's got a lot of, you know, it's not loud enough at your normal listening level. If you normally listen at -15 and -20, you watch a movie and it's like, this doesn't sound quite loud enough, so you crank it up. There's nothing wrong with that, because there is, you know, you want studios to always record at the same level, but it doesn't always happen. It's just the way it is, so we just kind of deal with it. But one thing you will notice, you know, from forums and things like that, when people discuss how loud they listen, you know, when they're talking about listening on their calibrated systems, most people are going to be around -15 to -20. We talked about this when we went over how much power you need, or how much amplifier power you need in your system. It's going to be heavily dependent on your listening levels. Alright guys, don't forget to check down the description below if you want to, you know, buy a reasonably priced mic, you know, to calibrate your system, something that's a little bit better than your phone. And also the UMic 1, I'm going to go ahead and link that down there too, because it's kind of hard to beat a UMic 1 because of what it can do when combined with Room EQ Wizard. Now, as you've seen from my previous episodes, you know what I mean when I say that. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell down there so you know the next episodes come out, and they will be coming out weekly again. I'm going to try to get at least one for sure, but hopefully I can get 2 out a week. You know, now that I've got a place to shoot, that's going to be doable again. So that's going to be a wrap for this one, guys. I'll see y'all next time.